Carl and Damon here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for short. And they made what into a TV series. Can you believe it? The Last of Us Season 2. Finally, we're able to talk and start talking about The Last of Us Season 2, the second season of the post-apocalyptic drama television series based on The Last of Us video game franchise, of course, developed by Naughty Dog. You know it. It's pretty much one of the most famous game franchises. Mind you, there's only like, say franchises, there's two games in it, just one and two, and Sony just keep remastering them and re-releasing them over and over. I know they're being dragged for their latest thing, but it is quite embarrassing, like how often
Yep.
they're just like, hey, it's been a year, let's just do it again and remaster it and re-release it on a modern console. It's quite funny.
It seems to be the norm now. I read some of that Oblivion's getting remastered or something like that. So
Supposedly that might just randomly shadow drop out of nowhere, which part of me goes, cool, but other part of me goes, I don't want to play that. I don't want to play it. I've got too many games to play. I'm not going to sink
uh,
another 100 hours into oblivion. I'm just not going to do that. So,
mm,
but you know what I mean? But so I get it, but like it does feel like they keep redoing The Last of Us a lot more than the rest. Like this is, I swear it's sort of like the fourth or fifth time this
yep.
has happened, like in a re-release version. Anyway, of course, the series overall, let's just give you a quick overall view. It's 20 years after a pandemic caused basically, it's a fungal infection thing, but it's kind of turns things into zombies. It's zombies, just a little different, kind of like a fungal thing. And obviously, because of that, society collapsed, and here we are today. The second season, this season is based on the second game, the 2022 game, The Last of Us Part 2. Now, should for clarity note this. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about this, but I'm also okay with it to a certain degree. Season 2 is 7 episodes long in total and is only covering half of the second game. Now, the second game is obviously a lot bigger, a lot more in depth, and a lot more detailed, which means it's not a bad thing to spread the seasons out. But I do get a little bit of a Harry Potter final book feel here, and you know what I
Mhm.
mean by that, where the last two films were split in two, even though
Yep.
and felt a bit stretched because of that. Now, this being The Last of Us, I feel like they can kind of do more of this because it's more of a narrative story, and there's a lot they can do with it. I'm comfortable. Basically, I'm comfortable with it because it means we've got at least a season three, and hopefully, I mean, I can't say for sure, but surely we're not going to do stupid. We're not going to have to wait as long because we're going to get into that in a minute. But for now, like, I'm okay with the idea that the second game is being split into two. You don't seem. Are you? You seem. Are you okay with that?
I'm like, yeah. So I didn't even know that until you mentioned it. So I personally don't care. So at the end of the day, said whether it's 2 seasons, 3 seasons, or or how many seasons, it doesn't really bother me. But as you said, we'll get into the time frame of seasons.
Yeah, it's so that's the biggest thing that right. So I must say. Let's talk about this big issue then that we both talked about it before, not even just regarding The Last of Us, but just talking about shows in general. And this
Mhm.
seems to be it's a problem for just about everything because sometimes we've even had about animated shows. But basically, the time between the end of The Last of Us season one and this season two has been basically 2 years, been over 2 years. And no, it's 2 years. It's about 2 years exactly
Yep.
since it aired. Since it aired. That is fucking crazy to me. Like, what are we even doing here? I understand it's not quick and easy and cheap to do this. And when you've got someone like, I'm going to say maybe more Pedro Pascal, who right now for the last couple of years is hot. He's hot and he's in vogue. I mean, right now he's in The Last of Us, which is out now, but he's also about to be in another superhero franchise, the Fantastic Four.
Yep.
And so Jimmy, he's hot shit. So his scheduling is going to be a big problem. And his schedule lining up with others like Bella Ramsey and stuff like that, all of that is going to be, I get all of that. But from a viewer's perspective, now I am so sick to death of the internet and others over-analyzing shit to such a degree. And you can say, oh, we're guilty of over-analysis to a degree as well, but I'm talking about over-analysis where they feel like um, they can explain or talk away every single thing. Oh, well, you shouldn't be annoyed because it's 2 years because look at the budget, look at the time and all that. And what do you want? I don't, you want it out every 6 months? No, I didn't say that. But a year? Do you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
every, you know what I mean? Stuff like that, like a little bit more regularly. Even like, and because what it resulted in, right, is that this series came and I was not hyped at all. In fact, I felt like, maybe this is just me, I felt like it didn't even really get that much marketing of a push. Like
No,
it
no.
just sort of turned up. Like I knew it was coming. We'd had a few trailers, but like thinking the weeks leading up to it, it felt like there should have been a shit ton of marketing, and I wasn't seeing anything to the point that I had to go. We talked about this. I had to go and find out I had to Google its air date and when it would be available in the UK. And it was only then I was like, okay, Sky
Yeah,
Atlantic Sunday night, because HBO in America, Sky Atlantic in the UK, and then for us, because I don't have Sky, Now TV, basically Sunday night, early hours of Monday morning,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
I thought that was fucking weak.
Yeah. As I say, I personally had a lot of issues with many things in this episode and this show. So
We're gonna right. Obviously, don't talk to me about that at the moment so much as the case because we're gonna get into the details of see episode one as well. But like, yeah, just that wait. And here's a bigger fucking problem. Now, I'm gonna overarching here. This is an overarching problem. I thought about so as of the time recording, I watched just a few days after you did. I didn't have time to watch it, so I eventually watched it a few days. As of the time of recording, actually, I watched it last night, Damon. As of the time recording, so
mhm.
it's quite fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
Whereas I think you watched it almost directly after it came out, right?
Yeah, but probably about 5, 6 days ago. But it's still in my mind because of
Last of Us.
my opinion. Yeah,
Yeah, Last of Us, right? Exactly that. But in the period, right, what I realized had happened in the period, I was thinking about this last night. So sum up, I enjoyed the first episode. There's one scene that I thought was fucking spectacular. One of my favorite of the entire show. And we'll talk about what that is. But I also recognize it has a few faults from two perspectives. And one of them I find really intriguing because I think it's something a lot of reviewers are ignoring
mm,
about this episode, and we're going to get into that as we go along. But for now, I wanted to say this: I still felt underwhelmed, and I was wondering why afterwards. I loved season one. What was it that left me feeling underwhelmed about this opening episode? What was it? Because Last of Us is spectacular. It still looks great. The acting's fabulous. I'm happy to see the characters. We get some action, not loads, and I'm fine with that because it's The Last of Us. We don't need, it's not that kind of show. You know that. No, I do have an issue with that as well. And we're going to talk about that from a perspective that I think is intriguing, like I said. But don't just let me finish my train of thought. Just let me finish it, right? And I was wondering what's different, and then I realized what it was. Since The Last of Us last aired, I think there's been too many good shows. So The Last of Us season one came roughly, I think, when we were struggling for good shows. We had good shows. We'd had Castlevania and stuff like that, but we maybe didn't have as many, at least on the level of The Last of Us, that had that money, budget, feel, inventiveness, dedication to the games, and effort put in, right? And since then, we've had Fallout as well.
yeah,
And that changed the game as well. But alongside that, we've had more Castlevania. We've had what I consider to be one of the greatest episodes I've seen for a video game TV show in an episode of Nocturne. You know what episode I'm talking about. It's specifically the one, with spoilers involving the killing of an important character and the music, all of that. Like that to me, still, when I think about that episode, I get goosebumps. And then recently, now I know you've not seen it, so I'm only going to briefly touch on this, but people I know aren't going to necessarily agree with this as well. But I watched Devil May Cry recently, the animated TV show as well, and I loved it. But it has in it the single greatest episode I've ever seen of an animated TV show. Better than everything Nocturne did. It's that better than everything all Castlevania did. This one episode, and obviously contextually, the episode is, but this one episode tells a story without a single piece of dialogue in it. It is simply one of the most spectacular pieces that I've ever watched. And it was brilliant. This is what we've had, and it was, what else am I forgetting? What else have we had in between? I'm trying to. Oh no, we had Knuckles. Knuckles sucked. So like, yeah, it
yeah.
hasn't been always all great. But see what I'm saying? But like those alone, there, great stuff from Castlevania Nocturne, great stuff from Devil May Cry, oh, great stuff from Tomb Raider.
Yeah, too many. Yeah.
And if you're not into animated stuff and you want it in a live action, great stuff from Fallout.
Yeah, yeah,
So The Last of Us doesn't feel as special anymore, right? And then they made us wait. Oh, fuck! Right. I just realized what we've forgotten. And this is the controversial one.
mm,
In our opinion, people, in our opinion, great stuff from Halo Season 2. In
yeah,
our opinion, we know, all right, you've already hit your head on the keyboard. We know, chill, folks. We know it's not for
yeah.
everyone. We fucking loved it. Won't hear any different. Still gutted about that cancellation. Understand why, understand the cancellation. Understand it completely. Still not happy about it. But, so that's what we've had in between. So, like, oh, it doesn't feel as special, right?
Yeah, as I said, I wasn't. I'll watch it. I'll watch it. I'll review it, and I hope. Obviously, just my personal opinion, I hope it improves.
Hmm.
But as I said, it was just a major low for me. Not low, low, a major low.
Low, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
okay, yeah, Lull, I understand. Okay,
yeah.
well, you know what? When we talk it through, I'm gonna basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna stop at important. Basically, I see the first episode as look, basically talking stuff, all the information and stuff like that, built around specific scenes, moments, and stuff like that. So what we're going to do, it's almost like checkpoints. So when we
Hmm.
talk it through, we're going to do those, we're going to stop at those checkpoints. And perhaps that's where we can talk about feelings about specific things. I feel like we might have a different opinion on some stuff here, but I'm intrigued then because that's truth be told, often we align a lot, Damon. So if we've got a
Yeah.
different opinion here, it'd be quite interesting. But let's just remind everybody that the showrunners for this are Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann, who continue to work very hard and make this appeal to both video game fans and non-video game fans. However, I'm going to make the argument here. I'm going to say it here. I think this episode, from a non-video game fan, may be the problem. I think in this episode, more than any other, they've forgotten they also need to appeal this show to people who don't know the video or who don't love the video game. That's a thing. I think while it's an interesting watch from a perspective, I think they needed to perhaps give people a little bit more oomph, particularly in maybe one scene or whatever. And I think perhaps if you weren't, say you were on the fence, you thought The Last of Us was just all right, season was just all right, and you're like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, it's back. Well, let me watch the first episode. You may not want to continue after this. You may just be
yeah.
like, it's a bit slow. Was hoping for a bit more, this, that, whatever, and so on. But if you're a video game fan, they've gone out of their way to nail so many aspects that are very cool, and they work in the show as well. They do work in the show as well. But if you're a video game fan, it feels like a lot of it's like that scene, that bit, this, that. And we've talked about this in the past. Even though we're video game fans and we want to see adaptions, we are fucking fully aware that you need to be so careful
Hmm.
about doing shit like this. Now, thankfully, I think they do a good job of making it feel like if you don't know the video game, you're not missing out, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, right. So cast wise, of course, Pedro Pascal as Joel. I'm gonna say it. He's still brilliant.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he is absolutely he's nailed on spot on perfectly for Joe. I think personally, his look, and obviously, he's a top quality actor.
He is, yeah. It's that, isn't it? Now, I am going to in a moment argue against one thing you said there, but this is purely because obviously we then have Bella Ramsey as Ellie. Right. I am now about to fucking this not to you, Damon, this goes to the internet, you bunch of horrible little fucks. You disgusting, shameful, embarrassing people, and you know who you are if you're one of them. Just because you don't want to fuck her does not make her someone worth deriding. She is a fantastic actor. Just because she doesn't conform to your idea of what a woman or a person should be, and you decide to try and run her down and make out she's ugly and horrible. The stuff I've seen from a
Hmm.
corner of the internet makes me sick to my fucking stomach. That they can't watch a show like this and just see that person as an actor, but instead it's about her looks. And then they have some sections have the audacity to go, it's not about that, it's because she looks nothing like Ellie. Pedro Pascal looks nothing like Joel. Just some grey in his fucking beard. Behave yourself. But you're weird. You don't have a problem with that. Is it because that she's, bisexual? Is it because that it's just so fucking horrible? Honestly, I am so sick of this. And it filled me with such disgust. You know what? I have my own issues with this character in this show that I'm going to talk about. That I have my own issues. And it comes from the game as well. But you know what I don't do? I don't turn around and attack Bella Ramsey for the writing. That may be a little bit iffy.
Yeah,
Honestly, Damon, it sickened me. The
I
people who've been sharing screenshots and going, ugh. It's just like how, and you're sitting on the internet doing it, you
yeah.
little fucking
No,
cowards.
no, I agree, spot on. It said so how she looks, people, some of the things I read about, oh, she's got Down syndrome and stuff like that, it's absolutely disgusting, But the only thing I will say is that I loved her in season one. This episode here, I didn't particularly enjoy her in this episode, but it's nothing to do with the way she looks or if she's trans or non-binary or whatever the hell she is. I don't care. Okay,
You're judging
but
them on her
her
acting abilities.
performance, yeah, her
Exactly
performance.
that, and the character. Because I think what you, right? Let me tell you, right? Is it the fact that she's basically angry teenager and she's
No,
cocky and annoying? She's cocky
I
and
felt
annoying.
I felt every time she swore, I felt so uncomfortable. It's like it just it didn't seem natural coming out of her mouth. That's my opinion. And
Interesting.
yeah,
Oh,
that's the only thing I felt with her performance. And obviously,
interesting.
as you said,
Is
yeah,
that because I've got a question then about that? Because this is something worth pulling. I think this is really interesting because it's one of the more intriguing aspects of the character. Do you think it's because you still see Elliot as quite young? Now, obviously, she was 14. And Bella
mm,
Ramsey, the whole thing was she kind of looks younger than she is. In this show, in this one, she's supposed to be 19, but she doesn't
19.
necessarily come across as a 19-year-old, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've only ever seen, obviously, other than Last of Us, I've only ever seen her in Game of Thrones, and I've seen
Yeah,
Game of
yeah.
Thrones. She's obviously a little 10-year-old kid.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
like very young. Yeah.
it's hard to associate all that you fucking cunt, you effing this and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
It just feels unnatural coming out of our mouth.
Okay.
So,
That's
yeah.
a really interesting perspective. So for me, my issues with the character, and weirdly, it's related to the game, but it's also something I understand. My issue with the character is that I found her and another character really irritating at times. Just
Mm,
like, oh my God, stop acting like that. But then like my wife was like, yeah, but they're teenagers. And they're also
mm,
cocky teenagers. And
yeah.
cocky teenagers, and I'm like, yeah, I know. But but my issue was like, I don't really want to watch a show that's like that.
Mhm.
I, like you, hated the fact that she gave Joel so much shit.
Oh,
But then, no, but then I had to remember this, and I think this show opens in the best way. Fuck Joel.
mm,
I know we all want to love Joel, but Joel did one of the hardest and coldest and most wicked things for his own selfish reasons. And there's a point in this show where I remembered, and it's all those shades of grey. He isn't a good guy, and he even says it. I'm a good guy, and I was like, no, you're fucking not. You killed tons of people for your
yeah,
own selfish benefit, and then lied about it. Like, let's not forget that, folks. And that's the shades of grey, and that's what I love about The Last of Us. But you know why you want to love Joel? It's because you like Pedro Pascal. And this is a
of course.
problem the show has sometimes with casting someone like that. Is that Pedro Pascal was nobody really to me. Game of Thrones actor and a couple of things I'd seen him in. And then he did The Mandalorian. And we all fell in love with him in The
Mhm.
Mandalorian. And then from that, it kind of built from there. And obviously, we all want to like Joel. But like, he is just like Ellie, an incredibly flawed character. But for some reason, I think some corners of the internet, not even some, a lot of people, because the some part is based around her Bella Ramsey's looks, and it's suggesting that because she's got like basically she's got a large forehead, smaller
Yeah,
eyes, and that's so insultingly horrible, and you should be ashamed of yourself if you act like that. You really should be, because what people think about what people said about you or a loved one of yours. Do you know what I mean?
it's
Just
pure
think of it
bullying.
like that. It's
It's
bullying,
pure
and
bullying, it's the sort of
it's
thing
just
that
unnecessary.
yeah, exactly. And it's the sort of thing that imagine as a child at school, that sort of thing that could
Yeah,
drive that person over the edge and do something
yeah.
really, really, really
Just think
dangerous to
about
themselves.
just remember, folks, treat people how you would like to be treated or someone
Mm,
that you love would like to be treated. If you've got a daughter, a sister, a mother, just be better, basically. We're not perfect. We're not. We make our own mistakes and stuff like that. But
mm,
I saw all of this and and Bella Ramsey doesn't need my protection. She doesn't need our protection. She doesn't need anyone's protection. You know what I mean? But like, it doesn't mean we can't stand up and say no, fuck you for doing that, and we don't agree with you, and you won't hear shit like that from us. But elsewhere, cast wise, Gabriel Luna as Tommy, really enjoyed him in season one. Really glad
yeah.
he's back. Yes. Um, Isabella. Merced as Dina, this character is going to grow to be a great character. We saw
Yeah.
already, I saw flashes. I loved elements of it, and I loved how irritating I found her at times. I was like, oh, you little. But I was like, that's what I want. You know what it is? It's a freshness to the show
Mm.
that needs new characters. Young Mazzino as Jesse. Briefly in it, he is going to be fucking great. I
Yeah.
love that scene with him and Ellie at the party.
Hmm.
Fabulous. You get it already that there's, you can feel it already. And obviously, important character. And I mention these ones because they're important characters from the game.
Yeah.
And the only other one I'm going to mention, even though there are many others, I'm going to mention this one because they are going to become quite a big deal. Caitlin Diva as Abby, which is how we begin. That cold open. I guess we're going to call it a cold open, right? Because we start directly after the events at the end of the first season, which is where we see the surviving Fireflies burying those who died, and you're reminded of how many died at the hands of Joel. And they're kind of talking, basically, he destroyed what they had there, and they're talking about how they can recover and recoup. But importantly, Abby is here, and she's like, I want revenge. We have to find Joel. One of them is kind of like, look, we aren't going to find this guy. And she's like, no, no, I remember all these details and stuff like that. But she
Mm.
is talked into kind of like, look, let's go to another place. I can't remember what the city name is. Recover, recoup, and then we'll hunt them down. And that's kind of where it ends there. She says the game line, which is basically when we find him, we kill him slow or something like that. He dies slowly
Yeah.
or something like that. I love there's a cold opening. I was like, yep, there she is. An important aspect as well. But I think it's a really good way to remind you, oh yeah, Joel did that thing for his own selfish reasons.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good way to remind you. I mean, if it wasn't 2 years, I would have been a bit more excited. But as I said, so I was tempted to. I should have probably gone back and watched the last episode of season one. I mean, obviously, I remember what happened, but it's just the fact that a lot of people may not, and it's been 2 years.
I think they could have started off right, giving us a quick kind of
Flashback.
flash of him shooting his way out of the hospital, and
Hmm.
then like you know that in sort of quick cuts where it's bang 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 all that kind of thing. Then you cut to him and Ellie, and she's saying about the promise thing. But
Yep.
then I also say this: the show was coming out, you had all the time in the world. Everyone had all the time in the world to either reread, because you don't even have to rewatch it. Reread a
Hmm.
synopsis. It's not. I don't love my hand being held. Like I'm okay. I was kind of okay with this because I remembered it well enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
Get
understand.
what you
I
say.
understand I understand your point, right? I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong either. I think
Hmm.
there are two ways you could have done it. But then we do cut to 5 years later, and this is a clever way. Well, the game's set 5 years later anyway, but this is a clever way to move time forward. Very grateful for this. Joel and Ellie have settled in Jackson, Wyoming, but we quickly established their relationship has become more strained over time. We get more insight into that through character conversations. Basically, we spend some time catching up with everyone. Ellie goes on a sniper shooting hunt with Tommy. And we did talk about Joel here and the fact that Joel basically his whole thing is he's too overprotective, too
Hmm.
controlling of Ellie, which is a fascinating insight into the character, isn't it?
Yep.
And how that's frustrated with her, but also that she is a teenager. But, and this is something we easily forget, not just any teenager, a teenager growing up in a world transformed.
Yeah.
How can it compare to what we know as what teenagers are like? How can we
Yep.
compare
Exactly.
it? We simply fucking can't. But we
Nope.
also see life in Jackson and the difficulties they're having. And there's a couple of great touches here. So the pipes being clogged by weeds and branches was interesting. I love this because it's a really throwaway scene that comes back at the end of the episode in a proper like, oh shit moment.
Yep.
Like big fan of it. We'll get to that at the end. But what I loved is the scene so we're seeing how Joel is basically not in charge, but he's an important aspect when it comes to building. And they're struggling to build as fast as they're bringing people in as we see more people turn up. Now,
Mm.
if you pay attention to the scene, this is a great fucking scene. Because the mayor or one of the people in charge, the one who's married, I've forgotten her name, is married to Tommy. No disrespect to the actor, she was great, but I
Yep.
just didn't write it down. Basically, we see her looking at the newest arrivals. Newest arrivals are made up of women, children, and a guy in a wheelchair. These people can't help you build. So I
Yep.
see the problem. It's more mouths to feed, more people to look after, but you need, like, how can they help you? And that's the problem. But for the record, Joel, shut the fuck up. If someone is asking for help on the other side of that fence, you are not leaving them out there.
No,
You're not. Don't you dare say it. The greater good thing does not apply here. You not. And
no.
rightfully he gets put in his place. You were a refugee yourself once. It's a nice little reminder of him being put in his place.
Yep.
Nice little interaction with him and his nephew as well here.
Hmm. Yeah, enjoyed
It's
it.
a great scene. I was really happy to see him. I like how I think they did a good enough job of aging him up without it looking silly. So they gave him obviously a bit greyer hair and a beard. But they've also given a bit of makeup to give him kind of like age
Yeah,
spots,
wrinkled.
liver spots,
Yeah,
that kind of thing. So I thought he looked quite good. You know, he's Pedro Pascal. He's good looking. He's nice to experience as an actor. Do you know what I mean? He plays off the others really really well. It's Pedro Pascal. I don't really think, yeah, like it would have taken a lot. And like, this is an early introduction to him. I was happy to see him.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love the fact he's in therapy. And we then get that. So we're doing the stops here, right? So there's a whole thing about Ellie kind of demanding that she be let out to go on recon missions. But apparently Joel has stepped in to try and make it so that she can't. That's fascinating as well, because again, this is why I find Ellie a little irritating, because she's so demanding and so
Hmm.
stubborn. It could be a little frustrating. But who the fuck's Joel to sort of say she? Do you know what I mean? What do you know what I mean? Like, I get it again, you know.
Yeah,
And the whole thing is that they're
yeah.
trying to go on,
No, I
go
was
on.
just going to say it goes back to obviously his own child obviously dying, and he's obviously being overprotective. He thinks it's going to happen to her again too. So I can see it from his point, but he has to remember that one, she ain't your daughter. Two, she's an adult. So
And also, like, you can't, like, every parent knows you cannot control your youngster like this. The more you try to grip, the harder it'll squirm. This is not a
yeah,
secret. And there is a great scene where Tommy does talk about that, how he never experienced, his own daughter died before she became a teenager, so he's never experienced what it's like to care for a teenager, let alone in the world that they exist in. But not only that,
yeah,
with the special trick that Ellie has, special trick, she's immune, of course. There's this whole thing
yeah,
about her being immune. And you can see the pressure of having to keep that quiet is frustrating her. And you completely get it. I get it, because I understand why it needs to be kept quiet from both perspectives. On the one hand, it's like, well, who cares if people know? But on the other, it'll make her a target. It makes her a target, but it'll
scientist.
also make people wary. Wary more than anything else. Because
Yeah,
the question would be, how do you know she's immune? Oh, she got bit.
yeah.
Ah,
That's totally going to make people nervous.
always. Because what if it's just lying dormant? What if one day she wakes up and she's fucking, you know what I mean? It changes. So I get it. But I also understand Eddie's point of view, which is, who cares? Who cares? But as we're going to see later at the end of the show, prejudices and issues that people have still exist in this weird world, in this world. So anyway, but Joel's in therapy, goes to see a psychotherapist, Gail. I cheered. It's Catherine O'Hara. Always glad to see Catherine O'Hara, fabulous actor, doing great
Yeah.
stuff, and is in basic what I consider the best scene from this episode. This is just fucking brilliant.
I mean, I said to you after watching it that there's probably about 3 or 4 minutes I enjoyed in this episode, and this entire scene here is fabulous. You've got two top quality actors going back at each other, and I loved it.
Yep, just sitting opposite each other, filled with emotion, because basically he wants her to therapize him, but all he really does, and this is what I get angry with Joel. I said to my wife, "What a selfish prick!"
Yep,
Because he's sitting there. Basically, he killed her husband Eugene a year ago, 1 year to the day, and she's now drunk that day. And she tells him how much she resents him. She basically admits it, says it in the air. She's like, "Look, I did say this out loud because hopefully then I can forgive you. You killed
hmm,
my husband, and I hate you for it, even though I know you had to kill my husband." So we can infer her husband got himself infected.
yes,
And
yeah,
Joe, and she says the way you did it. So I suspect Joe did it without even like quickly, maybe without her getting a chance to say goodbye to him. He
yeah,
just shot him dead in the street. That was it.
yep,
Love it. And Joel like has to live with that. But her whole thing is she knows Joel is hiding something. She's like, because he's pathetic. He's sitting there going, Ellie won't talk to me. I do all this for her. I'm a good guy. Why doesn't she like me? It is the most
yep,
pathetic. And I love that she calls him on it. God, you
yeah,
know, he deserves to be called on it. Because I'm going, you prick. You
yep,
know?
indeed.
But she recognizes that he's hiding something. And she's like, say it. Say what the truth is. And the emotions on his face, it's like he goes through all the stages.
Yeah.
The fear of what will happen if he says it out loud, the guilt for what he did, and almost the relief that he will feel from saying it, from just
Yeah.
it being out there and it not being a secret he has to carry in his head. I killed all these people, maybe doomed everybody from the chance of having a cure,
Hmm.
all because I couldn't let go of Ellie. Like
But
that
like,
is, it's yeah, it's incredible.
but like you said, you said when he gets that question, as you said, you can see in his face. I mean, again, it's top quality acting. The way he can express the emotion, the guilt, and all that in one scene. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. It is fucking fabulous. And I love the fact that and then his face just hardens and he's like, I
Mhm.
saved her, and then gets up and leaves. Like it's like you do believe that. You believe you saved her. And you're right, you
Yeah.
did, but you didn't, you took her choice away. If you'd asked her, we all know what would have happened. She'd have said, of course I'm going to give my life to save others. And you took that
Hmm.
choice away. We all know this is all going to come back to bite him. We know it is. It's from the game. Do you know what I mean? Like spoilers, folks. There's a lot that's going to happen, and I now believe 100% that the showrunners, because they're the writers and creators from the game, they are not going to. They are not going to lie. They're not. They're not. They're not. They are going to do it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. They are going to do it, and I think it's not going to happen at the end of the season, but it's going to be the cliffhanger that ends this season into the next season. But I'm
Yeah.
telling
Yeah.
you,
So
they
I think that,
won't, those believing that because it's Pedro Pascal that they will might find a way to change it. Nope, I'm 100% convinced they're going to do it.
no, we've had this discussion before, but I would love to think that Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey have had some knowledge of the game, and they
Oh,
would
100% they must by now at
would
least have
argue
read
that
it.
point. Yeah, they would argue that point, and that you cannot change this character's
It's too big. It's too big to too
story.
big to change.
Exactly.
If I believe if they change this, they will lose pretty much everybody. So
It'll be,
I'm confident they won't.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
It'll be Halo all over again. Put it that way.
I think it'd be worse because they changed so much in Halo. But then I remind people, not that I want to bang about Halo, the showrunners of that told you it was set in an alternative world. It was not the Halo that
Yeah.
you knew, and you still bitched and moaned about it not being the Halo you knew. Oh, anyway, right. Let's jump to the next big scene because basically Ellie and Dina, who basically they're best friends, but it's quickly established that Ellie would really like to be more than friends with Dina. The longing looks and stuff like that. Very cool.
Yeah.
But Dina used to go out with, or has recently split up with Jesse, implying that she may not be gay, which is obviously a thing that Ellie is fully aware of and can't really get involved in. Spoilers: Dina might just be bisexual instead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like there's that. But I do like a lot of those scenes. They come across quite fun. In fact, there's an earlier scene with Dina and Joel, which is really good as well. I really enjoyed Dina's as a character, and the actor's great. But I also love
Yeah.
this. Cool. Let me say this, right? So in the patrol, they come across cocky, but it's only afterwards that I let it sink in that I realized, oh my god, they're constantly showing off to each other. They want to
Yeah.
impress, so like they're showing off to each other and being that's like children do. I want to like
Yeah.
Ellie wants to impress Dina, so she acts this way. Dina wants to impress Ellie, so she acts this. Do you know what I mean? It's like that kind of thing.
Yeah. I actually think they had a very, very good chemistry.
I agree. Yeah, I
So
do. I agree. I agree. But it leads to a supermarket which appears to be an infected nest, and Ellie and Dina basically talk their way to the people they're with, who are all quite like, "Don't go in there, don't do this, oh no, they won't listen to us," kind of thing. Now,
mhm.
what's the mistake? Now, I think people here, again, I've had to think about this. I think people will be like, "Oh my god, Ellie and Dina are just stupid, aren't they?" They've lived in this world for 5 years now. They are confident in dealing in this and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Do you know what the problem is? So this is where Joel and
Arrogant.
all the they go arrogant, and it will come back. Well, we see it comes back to bite them in a way. In a way, yeah, I know, right? But here's the problem: why aren't they being? It's the elders' problem, and because the elders are like, "Oh, you're too cocky, whatever," and stuff like that. No, if you gave them more responsibility, trusted them with more responsibility, and said, "Elliot, okay, I'm going to make you a leader of one of these recon missions, but you are now in charge of these people. You need to ensure these
Hmm.
people are kept safe." I think they'd approach it very different. If they knew they had to keep people
Yeah.
safe, they might approach it very differently to the fact that they're constantly basically after being some of the not only being pros, But like being like, like doing this a long time, maybe being in more danger than a lot of others have been. They're like, no, they're being still being ordered around. I think that's a mistake from Joel and the elders and all the people who are in charge point of view. They don't trust these girls, and they should.
Yeah, so I mean, I wish them with them going into the shop is a supermarket. There could be food, and you never know. So that's the whole point of being a refisher is to bring back supplies. So I've got no problem with that. But yeah, I agree. That
Forget even
you
the
want
supply side of
to,
things. Forget the supplies things. If that's a nest, you need to know how big of a nest it is because it's quite close to you.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
true.
The supermarket scene is quite atmospheric. Looks kind of cool. I did like the dog winning employee of the month on the wall. Did you see that? The employees of the month, and one of them
Yeah,
was a dog. Um,
yeah, yeah. So yeah,
yeah. So, but basically, yeah, and in there, of course, we get the new infected, the new sneaky infected. It's a really well done scene. The actor who plays that stealthy little monster looks great as well. And this scene doesn't result in Ellie even getting bitten on the stomach. She's able to hide. She's able to kill the infected and hide it from Dina as well. And later, actually, we see how she cleverly hides it. Is we see her cutting into the wound, the bite to make it now a cut
yeah,
because obviously it will heal like a bite and it will always look like a bite. So anytime that gets seen, people are like this. Whereas if it's just a cut, it's like, oh, I
yeah,
got cut on something. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's quite clever because
yeah.
we
I
also
mean,
see that she tattooed herself over her bite mark on her arm as well.
yeah, I mean, the scene in the supermarket is another scene which I enjoyed. And as you said, the creature, the movement of the creature always reminded like the creature from The Grudge, the way it moves, arms like all like on the floor. Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought it was epic. Yeah, yeah,
it's cool. It's the big bit of action we get in this episode. If we're honest, really, it's not a very action packed episode, folks. Truth be to be told,
yeah,
but it's also to set you up to show that these things are evolving like it should. These things are evolving too. There are going to be different variations of what we saw. They're not all running because the whole thing is when Ellie sees it, she shouts at it and demands it comes running at her. It doesn't because up to that point they're used
it
to them
doesn't.
just running at her, clickers and stuff like that. It ain't happening. So it's cool.
Hmm.
It's yeah, it's an enjoyable. Oh, there's more going on and danger on the horizon and so on.
Yeah,
I like the scene when they report back to the elders and stuff like that. Like they're sort of the council. I keep calling it elders. Like that sounds like a fucking Fallout thing or the Elder Scrolls thing, but no, like that's the council. And they kind of debate whether they should believe. And I like the fact they immediately know Dina's lying, but they believe Ellie. Like that's like, well, there's no like Ellie isn't gonna
mm,
lie. Like, why would she? But Dina's lying to for some reason back Ellie up, which I liked as well.
yeah,
Um, so what's the next major scene? I guess obviously we already talked about the cut. And I guess the next major scene is the party, really, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah,
So this is shot for shot, pretty much the game, famously. Like they've done everything, the lights, even the dancing, the music, the same band. Do you know that? The same band who does it in the game is the same band that's playing the music here. The dancing is exactly the same. They've gone out of their way to recreate it perfectly. Basically, I read this quote online, which is one of the showrunners was
yeah,
saying like, "Oh, we could have just put people in the same outfits, but we were like, no, let's nail this." Like, and so basically, you could put the
mm.
two side by side, and they would look exactly the same.
Got give him a thumbs up for that. It's impressive.
Of course it is. And not only that, the point is like if you don't know the game, it doesn't matter because the scene just looks
Yeah,
nice regardless. You've got nice lights, dancing, songs, and all of that. And the whole bit of this, right, is there's a great scene, like I said, between Ellie and Jesse talking about Dina, where basically he implies to Ellie, yeah, we split up, and she's like, oh, you'll be back together. Because apparently him and Dina are on and off again all the time, right? That's the whole thing that Ellie makes. And
yeah,
he kind of just looks at her knowingly and goes, yeah, I don't think that's going to be happening. And that is the biggest clue you want that he's clocked or found out that Dina is more into Ellie than she is him.
yeah,
And that leads to a drunk Dina and Ellie having a romantic dance that leads to them having a kiss on the dance floor. And then during this scene, right, is very sweet and very filled with chemistry and stuff like that. But it also has, now this is important, a degree of uncomfortability. Now, if you're feeling uncomfortable while watching it, you might be thinking, oh my God, am I a closet homophobe? Do I feel uncomfortable because it's two girls dancing together? Of course not. It's not that. What it is you've picked up on what Ellie is picking up on. She says it a couple of times, but she talks about the fact that it's more about the attraction than anything else. But everybody's watching them. It's because they're being judged.
Yep.
And we see a couple of times the dudes are what she says, and it's because they're all jealous because they all want to get with Dina. Some might be, but there's also, as we will find out, basically their kiss gets a little too passionate. Probably the wrong place to do that, I admit. However, the bar owner Seth breaks it up and calls them dykes. Now, the world has gone to shit. You are living in a closed-off environment, hoping that you don't get ripped apart by fungus and suspected dead, hoping to survive day by day in a wintry world. But hey, you hang on to your fucking prejudices, right? A gay women, and you're like, oh, I've got to make sure they know it. What? Honestly, how much did you hate that character immediately? It's like, you dick.
I tell you what I like. I like the fact that it was an older generation of a man. It wasn't like a younger person. So it was an older generation. So he's set in his ways, and it's very, very hard to get that generation out of those ways.
Right. No. Yes and no. I agree with what you're saying about the older generation part of things, right? I do agree with that. I think it's an important way to do it,
Mm.
meaning that he's more likely to have those prejudices for a longer period of time. But fuck you, fuck that dude, not you, that dude. Fuck that dude
Yeah,
for
yeah.
for holding on to those prejudices, for holding on to them and using them as an attack. Because like, had he said to them, had he stopped them and been like, "Hey guys, it's a family party, chill." Like, I might have been like, fair enough, like, chill. But I'd still make the argument, would he have done that if they were, was it a man and a woman? Probably not, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Probably
yeah.
not. But rightfully so, Joel gets involved. Joel gets involved. And immediately, as soon as he did this, I was like, no, Joel, don't do it. He
Yeah.
knocks Seth down, kind of basically he basically tells Seth to fuck off, so to speak, and stuff like that. And like, you get that pause, and we all know what we're waiting for. What's the reaction? And like, he is almost like waiting for her to come. Oh, thanks, Joel. And I'm like,
Yeah.
mate, she is not going to thank you for this. Not only did she not
Nope.
want your help, but you just embarrassed her in front of everybody. She's already embarrassed by embarrassed by the kiss, embarrassed by the being called a slur in front of everybody. She's embarrassed, and then you come along to protect her. It's so like,
It
and
shows up.
shows how naive he is.
Naive. It also shows that it makes her feel weak. The fact that she's trying to be tough and hard, and
Yeah,
he's the hero coming to rescue her and stuff like
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It is. She doesn't. She wants to say she doesn't need Joel. Now, the whole point is that you can need people and not need it. The whole point, she has to learn lessons as well here as much as him. He, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and it's about that. They're both not in the right, but like, she tells him as much, like, I don't need your fucking help, kind of thing, you know. I think that scene's great because he looks like he's about to burst into tears, but then he goes all he does a brilliant job of being like a sad little puppy, to then just his face goes
Yeah.
stony and he's like, okay, like, yeah, sure, that kind of thing, you know. And I
Mhm.
love that I love that I think they're both wrong. I love that I think they're both right, no, right and wrong. Like, I think, like, I
Yeah,
get why
yeah.
Joe would want to protect his daughter. I get it. But I know he's wrong for doing that. I love that Joel wants to stand up against Seth, who said the homophobic slur. I love that. I love all of that. Like, and I
Yeah.
love that Ellie also is like, look, I need to stand up for myself. I love that. She needs to stand up for herself because Joel may not
Yeah.
always
I
be there
mean,
to protect her. That's a big
yeah,
thing.
well,
He
yeah,
wants
and
exactly that.
I mean, like the scene after this, where there's obviously the next scene after this, where they're both staring at each other, and he's playing the guitar. Again, it's one of those scenes where there's no words, but you both know they're both looking at each other, like they're both thinking like fuck you, but they're both thinking like it's like there's anger, there's hate, but there's like regret
And
too.
love. Yeah,
Yeah,
regret. Great choice of words, regret. Because
yeah.
right, you're right. That scene is what follows. She's walking back to her house later on. Obviously, hadn't gone for a walk to cool off, and she hears because Joel took her guitar earlier on to restring it, and it
Hmm.
appears he's sitting on the porch having restrung it. And from a distance, they look at each other, and you're right. There's anger there, but there's also this face. Ellie wants Joel to say, "Ellie, can I talk to you?"
Yeah,
Call her over, and then she has to make the choice and she probably would come over. But he wants Ellie just to come to him.
yeah.
He wants her to come to him. And there's a scene earlier on where I think, who is it? Is it Dina or who is it? Whoever says it, Dina or Tommy. Tommy, I think, says you're
Yeah,
exactly
yeah,
like each other. They
yep,
are the same fucking character. It is
yeah.
hilarious how
That's funny.
obvious it is.
Yeah, that's
This
funny.
is this to me is just great to watch. This is what I loved about The Last of Us season one. This is the shit I want to watch. I don't need non-stop action when I get this. However, fear not. We are going to. The show is clearly going in a direction. As we then slowly, with music, cut over to that busted pipe to where those twigs and stuff were all growing out of it, and amongst them, we see tendrils, infected tendrils, weaving their way through it. So we know this town is falling. We know it's going, and it's not going to be pretty. But
Yep,
5 years have passed, and far from a distance, looking at Jackson from afar, we see a couple of characters, and we see one of them is Abby, clearly having finally found Joel. And that's how episode one ends, which I think is a great way to set people up for, oh, you want to tune in next time. You want to
yeah,
tune in next time because it looks like we're going to have infected stuff. And there already is a teaser out there, which is one of those, which is the teaser of the trailer, which is that character under the fence is only infected. So, Jimmy, we can tell what we were going. But
yeah,
I came away happy with this episode overall. It has got issues. And the biggest issue it's got is pacing for me, which is that if you weren't that sold on the first thing and you want more zombie action and infected and all that, you probably came away being a bit like, it didn't move fast enough. It didn't move snappy enough. It was quite slow.
yeah,
But I think the biggest problem it had relates to the 2 years thing. I think the biggest problem it had is it had no choice but to not only slow down to remind you of these characters, who they are, what their motivations are, but to then show you what's happened in 5 years. So
yeah,
when you're stuck with that, you kind of have no choice but to slow down. And like, god damn, that's an unfortunate problem to be in because if they rushed that, it ended up feeling, and we're like, oh, they really rushed that. They didn't really give us much, and now suddenly there's the zombies and all things like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, would I
yeah.
replace another action scene with the scene of Joel with the therapist? Would I replace the action? Oh, you know what I might have done? I would have made the supermarket part peppier and a few more infected, maybe.
That's
Up that a little bit. Up that a
yeah,
little bit. Kept that a little bit more. And I know it's unfortunately that would have meant it's not quite like the game. I know that shock horror, but I think maybe that could have been a bit more there. That could have been. And beyond that,
yeah,
I don't know if I'd have changed anything about this episode. I really don't because the
yeah,
scenes that I love, like the therapist one, is simply fabulous. The dance scene. Even the little bits in between with Ellie and Tommy, Dina, Abby, all of that. I really enjoy that. And I am now hyped for episode two. I'm very hyped for episode two now. But you obviously felt a little, I know you said you felt a little different, but I haven't talked it through. What's your thoughts now?
yeah. I mean, obviously, as I said, obviously, the point you mentioned are the points that I enjoyed. But I just wanted, after 2 years, I wanted this episode that felt to me. If this was like episode five of, like, say, Castlevania, this episode felt to me like a filler. This is a filler episode. So, and for a first episode after 2 years. I felt a bit more action. I'm okay with the older story. I'm okay with the fairy. I'm okay with the dance bit. Got no issues with all that. I loved all that. And obviously the ending of every episode, 100% has pulled you in for episode two because you know this shit's gonna hit the fan. But as you said in the supermarket part, I would have been happy with maybe one or two more of the infected running around or whatever, or just a bit more. I don't know.
A bit more oomph.
I
You
didn't
wanted a bit more
yeah,
oomph.
yeah,
I
I mean,
get it.
I didn't need to see. I didn't need to see no one get killed. That's fine. That's fine. I didn't need to see these creatures ripping them apart. I just want to see maybe two or more, three of those creatures running at Ellie and then Ordina and then shooting them. Then I would have been satisfied, you know. But other than that, you know,
You wanted a
but
little
then
bit more action. I think that's.
yeah,
I think
but then
I don't think you're alone. I think I would have liked
I,
a bit more action.
I reckon though, if it hadn't been 2 years, if it had only been a year, or maybe even 6 months or 8 months, I might have felt differently because the fact
Maybe.
that I would have had it would have been not virtually straight away. I mean, I'm going to have the same issue with
All
Fallout
that.
whenever they
Yeah.
find whenever they release whenever that happens in the next 10 years.
Aren't they making it now? So we probably got. I understand. I think they're making it now. I think I've seen some. No, I think I've seen Walton Goggins talking about how the stuff they're doing in this season far out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. I don't want to get into. Obviously, I don't want to get into Fallout talk. But let me just have a quick look. See, let me put on Fallout season 2. I always want to see.
I
Okay,
think
two
next year
days ago, Fallout's. Yeah, Fallout stars Walton Goggins and Ella Purnell just dropped hints about season 2. Okay, that's yeah. Walton Goggins teases more about Fallout Season 2, a whole nother level. Okay, but that means
Mhm.
nothing. It's not it's very unlikely to be this year. It'll be next year then, won't it?
Yeah, next year. Yeah, yeah.
But that yeah, we've already, as we said at the start here, we are not happy with this. It's not good enough, not particularly. And this is what feels like as well. Like this is what gets shows fucking cancelled because people lose interest and people move on and stuff like
Mhm.
that. In a world of like this, I know it's a weird thing to be criticizing. That we want this shit churned out more often. I don't want it every 6 months, but just a bit quicker, please. At least, or a little bit, maybe,
Yeah.
if you can't get, like, maybe spread the seasons out over a longer period of time, then maybe, like kind of thing. I know it's hard. I
I
don't
mean,
have the answer,
we're
but
getting we're getting a Castlevania season every year, which is fantastic. And
ah,
I've heard some good things about season 3 potentially.
or I
So
hope you have, but I would argue that I would say one thing: we actually had to wait a lot longer for Castlevania Nocturne season 2. We had to wait a year and a half, and that was too long for an animated show.
I mean, as far as from my perspective, was obviously that I caught the first season later than obviously.
Yes,
So
but remember this as well: Castlevania and stuff like that is 22, 24 minutes long, way more digestible than a full hour show with
yeah,
adverts. Because even nowadays, remember, streaming service have all become so fucked up that even though you pay them a subscription fee, you still get adverts. I pay a
yep,
subscription fee for now for us both to share. Damon, I had 3 ad breaks. Three
yep, me too.
fucking ad breaks on a subscription service. Honestly, they make me sick to my stomach. Oh, don't
Yep.
pay it. Just fucking pirate it and stuff like that. Listen, we're trying to do these reviews snappier. We had to wait a while for this one because of my job, which meant I had no time to watch this. However, we'll hopefully be snappier with the rest of this season. We haven't got low. Joke is, right? We now only have 6 weeks. And then this show's done again. 6 fucking weeks.
Yep.
Crazy. But we
Hmm.
are off and rolling in a mostly positive way. We have said some controversial things here about the show, but we've also said some things that are non-controversial. Remember, folks, I'm going to repeat it again. If you are one of these scumbags on there attacking Bella Ramsey over how she looks or because she doesn't reach your standards of what a woman should look like, you should be ashamed of yourself. Be better. That was season 1, episode 1. Season 2, episode 1 of The Last of Us. You got any thoughts you want to share? You know what to do. Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It does help us out. You can find us at gbhbl.com and across all social media platforms. And if you really want to give us a bit of extra support, please consider buying us a cup of coffee over on our coffee page. Thank you.